Well, a friend of mine talked me into it. She was like, you know, they could use somebody with, you know, my personality. So that's why I came over and I met the guys. I met my manager, and I just thought I would like some doing like this part-time. So that's why I got started.
What were you doing before that?
I worked factory. I did factory work. Yes, I did factory work.
So that's a big difference.
It was a whole big difference. But the difference is with doing the factory, it's a rush, doing this, doing that. But with doing this business, it's like waiting on somebody else, taking your time, giving up the patience, doing what you can do. So it's a totally difference, but it felt good, something different. And I think the thing is, I had did it for my mom and my sister, so it was well over coming into this kind of easy. It made it a little easy because I had did it with my mom and my sister. So I kind of knew what I was doing. I kind of liked what I was doing, so it was nice.
What job where you wake up and you might feel a little off and feel like you're, you know, depressed, but you come in and you see the individuals and they smiling at you and they're not judging you for what others might be judging you for. So I'm very grateful for the job that I have here.
Nervous.
Why?
Very nervous. Just because before, like my previous like experience was one-on-one, and then I converted to a group home where it was more than one individual that I was going to be caring for.
I work in a home where some of the ladies are nonverbal, and I'm making lunches and putting mayonnaise on it, and she's screaming. I didn't know she didn't like mayonnaise. She wanted mustard. I'm like, okay. So it's good, you know, to have a plan or put up a guideline or something, you know, they likes and dislikes, and I think it'll make the day go a lot easier.
I think one of the first people I worked with, I'm not going to mention any names, but he was somebody who liked to, you know, cuss and shout a great deal, and you actually got to realise eventually that this was just his way of introducing himself to somebody, being friendly in a way, was to, you know, sort of swear about a situation or something, and this person was actually very easy to deal with, I thought, in the end. I suppose he would have, first night I might have found that a little bit frightening, listening to him in another room sort of shouting and yelling and stuff.
So I was asked to go to a building because they were short staffed. Come to find out, the individual was having some aggressive behaviors. So I went there, and at first, like when I got there, they were like, yeah, he's been, you know, having some attacking issues with other staff. And it made me nervous because I'm like, okay, I don't know exactly what to expect or what, like if it's a certain trigger or anything. But like once I just was like, okay, let me just take a deep breath and calm down. He was okay with me. He wanted me to look at his pictures. We looked at some TV, and I was like, oh, okay, I kind of overthought it a little bit.
It takes dedication. It takes compassion. It takes kindness, support. And you know what? A lot of people, I think it takes a sense of humor. Because if you go in there with a positive attitude and you laugh and you having fun and you cracking jokes, it just makes their days just so much better. You know, so I think you really should have a sense of humor in spite of everything else.
Document, document, document. It's the only thing that can never be changed. It's the only person that will really have your back in any situation. And you really, documenting is so important. If it's not documented, it did not happen.
Always check behind yourself. And don't be afraid to have another staff come behind you and check if you're not 100% sure, because you may look at it 2 or 3 times and say, okay, I'm error proof. But then someone come behind you and say, hey, you forgot, you know, even when it comes to medications. So never be afraid to have people look over your documentation, say, am I missing anything or anything of that sort.
You know, the clients, they don't see color. You know, so they look at you and you walk in that group home and you automatically greeted with a hug, a smile, you know, and they look at you like you're the most important person to them. I mean, they offer unconditional love no matter what. And that's what they taught me. You know, you have to see beyond the faults and beyond the needs, and it just, you know. You have to get to know them. Unfortunately, we work in an environment where before you even start, you hear so much negative. It's just a lot of negative things. And, oh girl, you going to that group home where that person is so-and-so. That manager, oh, you don't want to work for her. You know, it's a shame that it's like that. But once you get in there, you got to get to know the person yourself. And there may be some likes and dislikes, but for your clients, you better get along while you're on duty, you know, and take care of all that other stuff once you're off the clock. But I say get to know that person.
Okay. My thing is, well, I'm if they know I'm never late, but the thing is, when you're late, I think you always should give them I know sometimes emergency come up, but if you can, call and let them know, hey, I'm running late, I'll be there such and such in time, you know, but always let them know, you know, you just don't pop in, let them know. Even if a staff is still going to be on the clock, you still want them to know that, hey, I'm running late, I got an emergency, I'm doing this, and it'll be so smooth. But that's the most important thing, let the staff know that you're going to be late.
Medication is another thing that's very important because it deals with our individuals, and that is the only thing that can be detrimental to their future or health or well-being, and also to yours, because anything that happens to them could potentially fall back on you and affect you in your future.
Okay, with medication, again, when you do your medication, you need to have that one client, the one you're doing it with. You learn that in class, but sometimes they'll run up on you, but you have to let them know, like, I'm doing medication, I will call you next. But the main thing, to have them sit there and make sure you got the right person and you're doing your Dr. Tim the right way, because you can get confused. But that's the best thing. Have one client, individual, right there with you, not the whole group. That's the most important thing.
To always have a good relationship, try and develop the best relationship with your supervisor, just because they're the leader. And then if you notice, like, okay, we're doing this for this individual, but then you see that sometimes that's not working with that individual, or they may not enjoy that particular activity or something of that sort. If you have a good relationship with them and you're saying, look, I think that they would enjoy trying a new activity that they enjoy. If you have a good relationship, it's like, oh, well, maybe they do, you know, she does have a good interest of the individuals, and that's not just she trying to do it herself. So,
well, that's very important. You got to be understanding and understand that they are there to facilitate the rules. They do not create them. So you got to realize that you got to work with them, because working with them helps them to be able to navigate the house in the right direction that it needs to go. So they don't really need pushback, they need help.
I struggle with this, you know, and I actually thought about it. And one word I can say is bravery, because I get put in a situation sometimes where I have to stand up for them. You know, it's a shame that we live in a world that see people differently, you know, so I never thought that I was as brave as I was until I started working for Ohio Valley, because like, oh no, you're not gonna talk about her like that. So you gotta stand up for their rights, and you have to stand up for what's best for them. And I've never thought that I was brave enough to do that until I take my ladies out and see how people treat them. Not everybody, you know, but it's just important.
We're there. We're doing things that family do, and that's how our group home is. It's like we're family. we're there for them. So I think that's why we're needed.
Because I think they enable people to live as independently as possible. You know, they sort of bridge the gap between what an individual can't quite achieve and what they can achieve, and I think they assess, you know, well, let's say somebody's very good at you know, making a cup of tea, but they couldn't necessarily make a meal, but they could perhaps, you know, cut up some of the vegetables along the way, and you know, just assessing that ability level with the residents. And I think the DSPs kind of bridge that gap and make sure things run okay.
Truthfully, documentation training and even skills training, and what I mean by that is understanding that sometimes we got to be brought back and understand that we're still dealing with adults, it's their choices, and we're only here to assist and help them navigate through life. We're not here to control or demand them to do certain things. We're not their mothers, we're not their fathers.
You know, look at it realistically and see if, you know, somebody, I don't know, somebody has a goal. Let's say they want to walk a mile every day, and let's say they walk half a mile. I mean, that's not nothing, that's some way along the process. You know, it's not the same as they just sat there and did nothing and didn't react to your prompts. So just recognise that you might not get exactly what you want first of all, but you can gradually build up to it with an IP, I think, definitely.
Good.